Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm ready, Peter and Trey, to start.
We'll mute everybody.
Oh, yeah. So we will start this gathering and reading this beautiful prayer, King of Prayer. And we are nearly finishing the text. And this Sunday, to this afternoon, and one Sunday is left. And so we will start this gathering once again by reading the refuge lines and Bodhisattva lines to help us to hold the mind taking refuge in three jewels and to experience a strong and altruistic awakened mind, which is extremely helpful to ourselves as well as to others. And as I have mentioned several times, either individually while we're in starting the day or starting our daily recitations or just going for a walk and want to say a few mantras before saying or reciting or engaging in the daily events or activities, really training ourselves to hold these two minds as a follower of the teachings of the Buddha, being able to hold the mind from our heart, the mind seeing, thinking, feeling the three jewels, the Buddha or the Buddhas as our mentor, teachers, and their teachings as something that we should apply in our daily lives, that we should experience, actualize, and Sangha see or treat as our spiritual friends, holding that kind of mind, experiencing that kind of mind, and thinking, our relations or our connection to the three jewels. It's not just occasional or on and off, not in that, but until the liberation from dukkha and the origins of dukkha is experienced, is actualized within ourselves. The full enlightenment is experienced. So setting that kind of, the long-term goal, long sort of, in terms of the time, not in the short sort of moment, but for some long time until that is experienced, which is very, very helpful. I heard, I think one of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama's, tutors, I can't remember whom, might be his senior tutor, Ling Rinpoche, saying, being able to hold the mind, taking refuge, while we are facing challenges, difficulties. Although the challenges, difficulties may not go away immediately, but just being able to hold that mind will give us, tremendous sense of, the word that he used in Tibetan, is, the Tibetan word is sijin, has some sort of magnificent, although things are very, very challenging, difficult, but within ourselves, being able to hold that mind, give us sense of meaning, or deep sense of meaning. The term that he used is magnificent, some sort of, the deep purpose in our life. So really useful, helpful to do that. And of course, then also being able to hold bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, as Shantideva said very clearly in the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life. The tamjo masubale margin ku chungwai. So, like the butter is, produced through the churning the milk, and the essence of the churning the milk. The butter is, produced, or is, collected. Similar to that, being able to hold bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, which is the essence of the teachings of the Buddha, and so that sort of things, and so therefore, what we need to do, we need to, although things are not easy, difficult, tough, and also training the mind, bringing, actualizing, experiencing these positive minds are not that straightforward, but at the same time, not to lose our determination to do it, because it is worthwhile, meaningful to ourselves as well as to others. So, when we familiarize, when we really, our mind learn to these two minds, part of our, way of thinking, way of, way of thinking, way of experiencing the life, then even the last moment of this life comes, there will be sense of, the sort of, at least there won't be regret, how we spend this life, and therefore, there's a great hope if we're able to experience our last breath with these two minds. There's a great hope our next sort of what you call the journey to the next life, will be very, very positive, constructive. So the familiarizing to ourselves, training ourselves with these two minds is really something very, very meaningful, important. Okay, so we are going to say refuge and bodhicitta lines 3 times. Sanje chedan soji chanamala chanju pardo dane gyatso che dagi jinso jibe chanamaji dola penje sanje drupara sho. Sanje chedan soji chanamala chanju pardo dane gyatso che dagi jinso jibe chanamaji dola penje sanje drupara sho. Sanje chedan soji chanamala chanju pardo dane gyatso che dagi jinso jibe chanamaji dola penje sanje drupara sho. Oh yeah. So once again, we will say together the the 6-syllable mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. And as you know, there are many detailed explanation what these 6 syllables are. The meaning of these 6 syllables. But in essence, really in essence, the first syllable Om, it has 3 sort of parts, O, Ma, Om, and these 3 represents or symbolize, the at our present level, right here and now, our impure body, speech, and mind. But in our, eventually, when through the practice of love, compassion, altruism, and wisdom, these 3 impure body, speech, and mind will become 3, pure body, speech, and mind. So Om represents those 2. And next 2 syllables, Mani, that represents, literally the term saying, precious. Here, jewel, or whichever that you translate in English. And the jewel or precious things normally, what you call cure or purify property, and here that talking about the meaning is love, compassion, loving kindness, love, compassion, and altruism. This jewel. When the love, compassion, and altruism are cultivated, are experienced, then the self-centered mind, egoistic mind are purified. which are the, really like the externally like the property. When we have this egoistic, self-centered mind, then no matter how much we get, how much we have, the wealth or anything, always there is a feeling of not enough, want more, and that is inner poverty, and that's here when these mental states are cultivated by love, compassion, and altruism. The ego, the self-centered mind, grasping, anger, jealousy, these will be cured. And that is the meaning of money. Batman, the next two syllables, here again, symbolically, the lotus. Lotus, that's the Padma, the lotus. So the lotus normally, grow in a muddy water or lake or water. And but when the buds are open, or the what you call the pure new shoots are risen from the above the water. They are very, very pure. No mud or stains are attached. Similar to that, here when the wisdom realizing nature of impermanence, wisdom realizing nature of dukkha, wisdom realizing nature of the emptiness, then the ignorance, confusions, misunderstandings are completely purified, completely eradicated within our psyche. And that's where here this the second this these two syllable Batman holds that. Then the last syllable hum, it has a meaning of to hold, hum. And here saying that the union of compassion and wisdom, which is the essence of the meaning of the mantra, be held within ourselves, be held in the sense cultivated, experienced, enhanced within ourselves. So that is the really the one of the the brief explanations on this mantra. So we will say the mantra together and really try to hold these two, most what's called the powerful, soothing realizations, compassion and wisdom. And we can send these two mental states towards all living creatures, and particularly who are going through very tough, very difficult time. Om Mane Padme Om Mane Oh, yeah. Thank you. You may hear clapping the hands, noise of clapping the hands, and debating, and that is what's going on in the debating yard. So there's nothing I can do to stop them. It will continue until 9. So it is still half an hour. And because, COVID-19 risk, we spread the monks all the empty space available. And usually they stay in what we call our new debating yard. But now also they are debating in the old debating yard, which is just below my window. And that's why you are hearing the clapping and some sound of the arguing, or I don't know. Okay. Oh, yeah. So I want to start with quoting from, once again, from Shantideva, this time not from English book. I'll just quote from my, from heart. 사소 중화 첨부도 남것신도 딱봐야 생제 봐도 매바이 남한니지 시량쇼. So this verse, which is in chapter 3, after holding the altruistic awakened mind, bodhicitta, in the third chapter. The first chapter explains the benefits of the bodhicitta, and the second chapter and half of the third chapter explains the preparations, such as seven prayer, which we saw in the text that we are reading, the King of Prayers. Then in the third chapter, there is I think there are sort of 2 or 3 verses, and holding the bodhicitta. Initially, the verse and help us to hold the bodhicitta at the aspirational level. And then the next 2 verses help us to hold the bodhicitta more than aspirational level, but more in the engaging level. That means with the mind, with the altruistic awakened mind, then saying I will engage in the bodhisattva's deeds, such as practicing generosity and so forth. Then coming verses are, like by holding the bodhicitta, then engaging in, working for the sake of living beings. And this verse, the verse which is, very, very nice. Saso jungwa chambotang. Saso, sa means the earth. Out of the 3 or 4 elements: earth, water, fire, wind. Saso, sa is the earth, so, etc. That talking about remaining either 3 elements like water, fire, and wind, or if you added another one, space, sasu jungwa chambotang, those great elements. It is talking about that this planet where we are, although they may have many different building blocks from the and modern sophisticated, geologists, all their point of view, they may have many different terminology, but in the ancient time, these 4 or 5 elements are considered as the keeping going on this planet where we are. So Jungwa Chambo, Jungwa is the element, Chambo is the great, those great elements, such as earth, water, fire, and wind. Saso Jungwa Chambo Tang, Namga Shindu Takbayang, this Namka, the space, Namga Shindu Takbayang. Semje Takpa, that means all the time, all the time. These elements, all the time, continue to sort of create, new things, and so on and so forth, to keep this planet going on. 사서 중화 첨보다 남보신도 딱봐야. 샘제 빠도 매바이 남왕이세 쉐야쇼. These 4 elements or the 5 elements really what you call the produce so many things to the so many living beings. Recently I watched a short documentary, and that is those very, very old and big tortoise that and how they eat and what they eat. They mainly eat just simple leaves, in a very difficult, but keep this big body, and very tough keep body for a long period. So like that, these elements really create all the things that living beings that we need, living beings that we need for sustaining. And likewise, me, as we all follower of the teachings of the Buddha and teachings of the Bodhisattva and the teachings, and trying to cultivate bodhicitta, me, or my body, speech, and mind also become like these 4 or the 5 great elements. That 5 great elements serve living beings, variety of living beings for many, 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 long, long periods of time. Similar to that, my life, my existence, my body, speech, and mind, or me, also become like that, to serve millions or billions of living beings for long, long period of time. And that is very, very nice, the verse which His Holiness the Dalai Lama, quotes very often. So sometimes when we are having good time, or when we are having difficult times, to remember that kind of verse, that whether we are having very good time, everything is going very well, or things are going wrong and difficult, but thinking still my existence, my body, speech, and mind become like that, to serve the living beings for long period of time. Because these 4 elements, they don't have any discrimination, saying they will produce these things here, or this group of people, and not to the other group of people. So like that, and that is really something beautiful verse to remember, to remember like that. Okay. Now we are moving to the text that we are reading, the King of Prayer. So last Sunday, our reading, that we started from verse 51 And these verses are really, mainly focused on what are the benefits of having, having read, write, listen this king of prayer, or read for others, read to ourselves, listen from others, and write down, and so on and so forth. That's it. And the 2 verses that come across in our last Sunday reading, that is verse 55 and 56, under the heading of benefits in brave, benefits in brave. And these, the verse 54 is a beautiful, like a summary of the benefits of reading, listening, writing, this what you call this prayer. And verse 55 and 56, as I mentioned, a nice story what happened in Lhasa with this nomad guy who has a big holding a big lump of the butter to offer to the butter lamb in front of this precious statue, but doesn't know how to make dedication his offering. But in front of him there were some Lhasa ladies who has been doing this for many years, but have a very little butter to offer, but have a huge, long, elegant, and the dedications to make. Do you remember I told you this last Sunday? And that is what is here, the verse 54 or 55 and 56 are happening. Verse 55 is saying, those bodhisattvas, like Manjushri, like Samantabhadra, as they dedicate their virtues, I will dedicate my virtues like these bodhisattvas. Now, where they dedicate, how they dedicate, my dedication will be the same, by listening, reading, contemplating the King of Prayer, the virtues of this King of Prayer. By doing this, and the virtues, whatever virtues I have, I will dedicate like these bodhisattvas, And the verse 56 is saying, then saying all the Buddhas of the 3 times, past, present, and future, where they dedicate their virtues and how they dedicate their virtues. I will dedicate my virtues as these Buddhas have dedicated their virtues. And that is really something very, very, as I mentioned, quite often in the Tibetan tradition, in the big monasteries or in the individual. And these 2 verses are read very often as a dedication. So very nice to do. So that's what we have covered last, So today we are starting from the heading saying dedication towards actualizing the result. So this is also part of the dedication, but a slightly different taste or the different way to dedicate. All our virtues activities, of course, they all have results, no doubt. As this is the one of the what you call the principles or law principle. If we have created the causes, the result is definite. If we created the full complete courses, the result will be full and complete. If we created half or quarter the courses, result will be also like that. And if we created virtues, result follows, concord with the courses, virtues, pleasant, and the same if we created non-virtues, unwholesome, and that is. But to actualize that result that we have created the courses, to bring them forward, and to experience, and that is what here this dedication, and in a particular time, in a particular occasion, in this case, as we can see at the time of ourselves moving from this life to the next life, which is very, very critical time, But there are these kind of, the little bit strange concept is going on, saying, okay, entire our life messed up everything, but whole the last minute, and then everything will be okay. That is misunderstanding. That's not going to happen, because that moment, time, when we are moving from this life to the next life, that is, from many reasons, even some of those great practitioners, face challenges because, we are leaving behind us a huge things, for in my case, 63 years of my collection. in here, everywhere, and they all mine. So mine is attached on that, like an octopus, and those what you call the hands, like that. So not easy. Of course, then when it comes to closer to this I, and closer to other things, not easy. And then not only leaving behind the entire our collections of this lifetime, not knowing what is in front of us, going into very, very unknown situation. So at that kind of situation, then thinking, okay, I will hold that few seconds of that time, and everything will be okay. But entire life, I don't care. That will not work. But if we do, while we're alive, while things are, our body is all right, my mental state is all right, during those periods, as I mentioned in the relation to the, what you call the familiarizing refuge and the bodhicitta, if we continue to familiarize that, then there is a great chance when the last minute comes, that familiarization to the refuge, bodhicitta, will, because that is what we have been training all the time, all the time. So that is here very this dedication. So first I'll read these two verses in Tibetan. Dāni chiwe tuje gyurbana, diba tamje dāni chirselde, ngosum nawa taye detongne, dewa jingi shingde rabdudo, dersongne ne melam didakyang, tamje malu ngundu gyurbasho, teda malu daki yongsokan, jigen chisi simje pembarji. Beautiful. So, saying Dāni chiwe tuje gyurbana, Dāni means me, Chive tu means the time of the death is arrived, dani chiwe tuji gyobana. At that time, diba tamje dani chirselde, all the obscurations, all the the confusions, diba is obscuration. Diba tamje means all. Diba tamje. Dani chir selde, selva means purified or eliminated. Okay, it seems I lost my connection. Are you okay?
Okay. Yes, I think you were explaining Selwa.
Okay, yeah. So, Chirsa, did you hear the Musum Nawa Taya Tetongni? Directly, okay, sorry, yeah. So after the eliminating, after the purifying, all the obscurations, all the the obscurations, then directly seeing the Nawataye. Musum means direct, direct. Nawataye Amitabha, Tetongne, directly seeing the Amitabha. By seeing that, they watching the Rabdo go, and go at once to his pure land of Sukhavati. That's how it is translated in here English. So that is really part of what normally we call the poa in Tibetan, or the what's called the transformative, transformative, I think. Transforming consciousness, transfers consciousness. Yeah, so that is here part of that. And then it says, next line, Teresong Nene Mulam Didakyam, reaching or arriving or being born in that Sukhabati, in that pure land, may I actualize every single one of all these aspirations. So that all the prayers and aspirations that we have, recited, that we have listened, that we have written, that we have expressed to the others, all those amazing aspirations that we saw in the prayer, they all become part of what we are and who we are, being born in the Sukhavati. Tamje means all, malupa, undu gyurba, as here translated, actualize. All those aspirations I've been holding by, from this prayer, they all actualize. Then the next, Theta Malu Taki Yongso Kang, Jigden Chisi Semjen Pemberki. May I fulfill them? So that is Theta Malu, all the, those amazing, initially in a form of pure aspiration, but then now they have become real and able to oneself being able to fulfill, able to do the initially in a form of aspirations. As I just quoted from Shantideva's, guide to the Bodhisattva way of life. That one verse, to become ourselves, to serve living beings, like the four elements, great elements, like the great four elements. Like those at this stage is in a form of aspiration, aspiration. But when we, when we be born in the Sukhavati, after, then they become real. So until the samsara ends, all may I be able to benefit all living beings through the actualizing, these aspirations. Jikden has a many different, the connotations. Jikden, here Jikden refers to samsara, this cyclic existence. Jikden, chisi means until. Semje is liberation, living beings. Pemberji, the benefit, to benefit all living beings until the samsara ends. Here it says, and bring help to beings for as long as the universe remains. So that is these two verses, really beautiful, to saying that, bringing the results at the moment where we really need. The result of reading, listening, contemplating, this king of prayer, these great aspirations, and bring them at the time when we really need. And after, when that result is, experience, being born in Sukhavati, in the Amitabha's Pure Land, but not in a form of holiday, but same, being born in there, but continue to serve living beings, and that is a very important part of, to be born in Pure Land. There are these statements, in the sutras, Bodhisattva sutras. Bodhisattvas, they pray to be born in the places where there are lots of sufferings, where there are lots of troubles, where there are lots of difficulties. Bodhisattvas, they don't pray to be born in holiday resorts. So, which is quite nice. It is true, because if bodhisattvas, if they true, what you call the prayer and aspiration is to serve living beings, and among the living beings where truly, need the support, then that is those places where there are lots of sufferings, where there are lots of difficulties, which is really, for example, recently when I was with my family, and one of my nieces, she likes reading books in English. Their English is excellent, and I went through one, her collection of books, and there is one, nice book she had is, like a life story written by one of Mother Teresa's, sisters, and it beautifully written. And I read few pages here and there. Very, very moving, how she struggled initially to really to serve those destitute, physically, mentally, socially, they struggled to, of course, later have a difficulty, but in a different levels of difficulty. But initially, nobody knows what she's doing, and so on and so forth. And that is really here. We don't think bodhisattvas are, the wearing monks, Buddhist monks' robes and Buddhist nuns' robes, or wearing these funny, the very ornament, and no, don't think in that way. Bodhisattvas will come in a many different forms and in many different shapes. Here and another verse which I remember now in the Shantideva's text, it says, "Dane gome namji gun, lamshu namji tebendang, galdo namji tudane, singda samba niduju." Dane means me, gome namji gun meba. That means people, beings who don't have protections. May I become the protector of those beings who don't have protections. The people or the beings who are taking long journey, in a unknown, what you call territory. May I become the leader to lead that kind of, long journey. The beings who need to cross the big river or big ocean, may I become the boat or ship, to help them to cross the river or the oceans. And may I become what you call the bridges, that living beings who need to cross from one the side to the next other side. So like that, and it is although here the being born in Sukhavati is explained, and many of us very much attracted to be born in Sukhavati, that means in the Pure Land, but in the many sutras, Bodhisattva sutras, as I just mentioned, Bodhisattvas, they really pray to be born in those unfortunate places, which is, look at it. I'm not saying one is better than the others, but we should have both choice. Not only all the time holiday, anyway. So that is the thing. Okay. Then the next, we'll start next heading, dedication towards receiving a prophecy from the Buddhas. And this is another dedication, prophecy. Some of you may remember, or you may have a very fond recollections. When we receive initiations, in the certain stage of the receiving initiations, after we do the test, throwing the stick, throwing the flower into the what you call the mandala, and then the master will announce, the flower is dropped on a particular direction, and that is the sign you will be born as such a Buddha's family, and so on, so on. And that is part of the prophecy. That which is very, that also these days not happening quite a lot because His Holiness Dalai Lama is not very keen to do lots of rituals. But I remember very, very clearly, those his two tutors when they were here with us, and when they gave what you call the long teachings, those early time 1970s, they were relatively young. Sometimes they give 15, 16 days, morning and afternoon, and 3-4 hours each session. So at the end of the teachings, as His Holiness starts quite often, but in a very short, in an essence form, there is a tradition to saying, the Simgye Choba. That means, the holding the bodhicitta with the making offerings. And it is a very long, nice recitations, and all the participants are holding varieties of offerings, the parasols, flowers, and all sorts of things. And then, and at the end of the, that holding the bodhicitta ceremony, the main teacher, master, will stand up on the throne and then say the prophecy statement, make the prophecy statement, with a nice chanting tune, which is very, very moving, which is very, very, enjoyable, that kind of. So there is this tradition, which is also here in this verse 59. I'll read that verse 59. Jawe kyungkor sangshi kawatere, pema tamba shindu zelegi, nawatae jawe ngosungdo, longden payang take detupsho, which is, saying, this time I will read in English, which is beautifully written here. Born there in a beautiful lotus flower, in that excellent and joyous Buddhist realm, may the Buddha Amitabha himself grant me the prophecy foretelling my enlightenment, which is very, very nice. The prophecy, making that saying that, after be born in the Sukhabhati, in the Pure Land, and seeing the Buddha Amitabha clearly, and the Yahweh Kinkoro, which is quite a nice one here. Kilkoro has many different meanings. Usually Kilkoro is translated as mandala. In the mandala, what we have is, entire what's called, things in that mandala, not just the deity. It has all the retinues, all the other things, and that is the meaning of Kilkoro. Sometimes we use this term, Tibetan term Kilkoro, for the ordinary conversation, to say that, how many family members did you bring today in this what you call the banquet. So you can say, use that kind of Kilkor. What it has a meaning of, all your members, all your family members, and here, to be born in this, in a beautiful lotus flower, and here it says that excellent and joyous Buddha realm. So all those beautiful things, and Amitabha himself or herself prophesies where you'll be born in the future, and where you'll be, what kind of Buddha, and when, what kind of Buddha realm, and when you will be enlightened. And that is here the prophecy is talking about. Okay, so that is today's reading, and now we have few verses. I'm going to leave this to next Sunday, which is the last Sunday reading this beautiful text. The we will read from verse 60, and we will easily finish remaining few verses in next Sunday. Okay, so just we have few minutes. I want to take one or two comments or questions. Just raise your hand if you have a, and just to express or ask questions. Okay, Elena, go ahead.
Thank you, Geshe. Coming back to that verse 33, the last line.
33.
33, that says that always realize like an illusion.
Oh, yeah.
So the mind is said to reflect like a mirror, and sometimes the mind is said to make reality manifest. So I was wondering, how does that function?
Yes, sometimes manifest has many different levels of meaning. The magically manifest, that is instant, for instance, that happens. But when you talk about, the mind creates everything, should not think, or mind manifest everything, should not think, that your mind, or to become delicious piece of bread, or the delicious cup of cappuccino, and not in that way. What is here is talking about mind manifest, or like particular philosophical concept, mind creates everything. It is more or less one of the main factors, either pleasant joys, happiness, or unpleasant, the difficulty, challenges, all among those many factors, many causes, that our minds, emotions, thoughts are the main player to make that happen. And in that sense, creates, mind manifests. And that manifest should be understood in that context. And here, the illusion, as I mentioned, the previously that you asked that question, illusion has again many different meanings. In this context, illusion is used in here, Gyurma Gyuben, Namta Tobjichu. So the Gyurma, in this case, all the activities of Buddhas and all the activities of your virtues, wholesome, they have positive results, they have positive consequences to yourself and to others, yet they are not intrinsic, yet they are not inherent. Like, a magician produces elephants and horses on the stage, and that is the meaning of illusion in this context, okay? Okay, yeah. Anybody would like to say another comment or question?
I have a question.
Okay, come on, go on.
I want
to ask question first before you ask question to me. I can see behind you a guitar.
Yes.
How often do you play that, how often do you play that guitar?
It's more for decoration. So I'm not really a musician. I started playing the guitar when I was already an adult, and I didn't practice a lot.
Okay.
But
Go on your question.
My question is, I wonder if in Tibetan Buddhism, there are also teachings like this Pure Land tradition that we find in East Asia, like in Japan and in China.
Oh, yeah.
Because you also mentioned the prayer of Lama Tsongkhapa, where even Lama Tsongkhapa prayed for being born in Sukhavati.
Yeah.
Because when listening to this Pure Land school, it seems like kind of the easiest and safest way to Buddhahood. And I mean, that's the goal of Tibetan Buddhism as well.
Yes.
But so far, I didn't come across many teachings of Pure Land school.
No, there are many teachings, there are many practices. In fact, our next text that we are going to read sometime in May, that will be one of the texts written by Jetsun Drakpa on that. But in a worldly sense, all these in the big companies who they sell their products, they will say our one is the best, the quickest, the best, cheapest, and most effective, don't they? So that's how we need to sell the things. So not very good analogy, but it works quite well. Okay. Now we will stop here and conclude our today's gathering, to say the 21 para prayer and then the dedication. Om Jetsun Pama Doma La Chanze Doma Nyuma Pamo Jene Keje Lodan Dama Jiden Sumgun Chuji She Kesa Chewa Lene Jong Chanze Dongke Dawa Gundu Kawa Jene Tibe Shem Kama Donda Soba Namanje Rabdo Cheve Raparam Chanze Seme Juni Ke Peme Chane Nabara Jem Jimba Zundu Kado Shewa Soba Samde Juni Chanze Deshin Shebe Zodo Taye Nabara Jawa Jem Malu Paro Jimba Tobe Jave Seki Shindu Tem Chanze Duda Rahung Yike Dudan Choda Namka Kam Jiden Dombo Shaki Nende Luba Meba Guba Num Chanze Jaji Mela Tamba Nula Naso Wanju Chum Chombo Roland Jisa Namanda Nijin Soji Tunetum Chanze Jeje Chadang Pegi Paro Chugo Rabdo Jom Ego Yinjan Shaki Nende Nabara Chugwa Shindo Param Chanze Turi Jiwa Chenpo Duki Pao Nambara Jom Chuji Shenen Chonye Denze Zhao Tamje Malusu Chanze Gunjo Somzen Chage Seme Toka Nambara Jem Malu Choje Kolo Jembe Rangi Weki Tsonamatu Chanze Rabdo Kawa Jibe Ujin Weki Tenwa Pem Sheba Rapshe Doda Raye Doda Jiken Wando Zem Chanze Sashi Gyongwe Tson Tamje Guba Numani Chonye Yewa Yige Hongi Tongba Tamje Nabara Jom Chanze Dawe Tongbu Uji Jemba Tamje Shindo Param Vechene Bame Tabara Shindo Revate Chanze Keve Tamame Barwe Tingwe Winene Eja Yungu Kune Koroke Jaye Pune Nabara Jom Chanze Sashi Wala Chage Teji Nishin Shaki Tong Chonyi Jenze Yige Hongi Rimba Tumbo Namni Gem Chanze Dema Gema Shema Yangen Deshin Junyem Sowa Omda Yanda Denbe Dikwa Chenpo Chomba Nyem Chanze Kune Korava Gave Jaye Lune Nabara Gem Ige Jube Mane Kupe Dikwa Hone Choma Nyem Chanze Ture Shamni Tape Honge Nabe Sabinim, Ramenda Ratan Beach, Chiden Sumna Yewanim, Chanze Hai Zoi Nam, Veta Tajin Chanana, Tara Niju Peji, Duna Malu, Sam, Chanze Hai Zonama Jeko, Padam Niam Ji Dem, Gune Goja Gawa Ji, Zedam Melawan Yamba Sam, Chanze Nima Dawa Ji, Jinyi Bola Verbo Sam, Hara Niju Dudara, Shindo Tagwe Rimne Sam, Chanze Tini Sumnam Gube, Shive Tudan Yanda Dem, Duda Rona Niju So Nama, Chompa Dure Rakcho Nim, Zale Ngadi Duba Di Tang, Chanze Wani Nishu Za. Dedication. Gewa di yogun, Sonama yishe soso shin, Sonama yishe le chungme, Tamba kuni tobara. Chanjo senjo rinpoche, Maje panama te yuji, Jeva nyamba me bayan, Kone kondu pewara. Kare rave korve shinkamade, Penda dewa malu jungwe, Jere sewa tenzen jazo, Shabe sede padu tenjoro. Oh yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ever so much.
Gratitude.
Thank you
Thank
very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you next week.
Yeah. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye bye. See you next week.
Yeah.
Keep well.